Howdy, folks. We're back.
Hello,
Dog
everyone.
training. We're switching it up on you. We're full of surprises out here,
Yeah, yeah.
Dunrovin.
Time
So
is a loose concept out here.
I feel like we got time. We just like to flip up the schedule and
Yeah, yeah.
play
Keep you on
around
your
with it.
toes.
Yeah. So I'm Mackenzie. I'm a dog trainer and other stuff. If you've been watching, I've been coming out every other week, and we decided to really flip it up today and do two in a row because I'm going to be away for about 2 weeks here. And we've been working, Jake and I have been working with Arrow for the last 2 weeks on recall. I think today we'll start to see some bigger recalls. That's the goal.
Okay.
Do you want to introduce yourself real quick, Jake?
I'm Jake. I'm Suzanne's eldest son. I do sometimes the technology around here, and I've got a newish job, so that's why I'm got the monkey tie on today. So that's from that. I've been dressed up for Arrow.
This is totally off topic, but I'm gonna go for it anyways. I was wondering, do you listen to podcasts much?
No, not many. No.
Did you ever do the Serial one or hear about
I
it?
heard about it. Yeah.
Oh, you should check it out. I
Yeah.
was listening to it on the way out here and thinking of you. Anyways, we'll save that for another time.
Yeah. It's a different program.
Yeah, it's a different program. All right, so we're working on recall with Arrow. Today we're going to switch it up a little bit. So we've been building up his, just like his interest in coming, his comfortableness in coming to us, trying to change his relationship with what it means to come running up to somebody, because he did unfortunately have some bad experiences with it, with a different person who was attempting to train him. And so we've been working on just from the very bottom up, and I think today, based on his enthusiasm level when I came up, we can really start rolling with it. So what we've been training is an emergency recall word. We're very careful with that word, and I thought today, now that we have a lot of positive associations, we'll build a secondary recall word, and that's the I don't know word, but we don't want to overuse that word. We want to use that word when we're pretty sure he's going to come, but we're not quite sure. So like in the scenario where maybe he's by the road and we need him to come back, but we haven't really trained on it yet, just to see. And we're not going to use that word all the time. We're still going to be careful with it. But our emergency default is a word that we only use in training contexts and emergencies. So that's what we've been building up. So I'm going to start, we're going to start looking for more repetition of recall, more enthusiasm with recall, and we're going to play a few different new games. And based on how much success we have with those, we'll start adding in some other stuff. So, Jake, I'll just demonstrate since we're switching it up a little bit, and then I'll cue you into it. So I have 2 or 3 games that we're going to start playing. And we're going to just start out nice and easy. And we're going to, his just like normal recall, we're going to start with name attention. And it's going to look a little bit like this. I'm not too worried about first click. He's coming towards me. And then I'm just going to turn and walk away. We've been playing this game. And I'm looking for pickup. Arrow! So the moment he starts jogging. So I'm withholding my click until he starts like kind of clipping at me. Arrow! And I'm associating it with his name. We need to cover a little more ground for this work. Try not to walk into a post. Arrow! Good.
That worked really well.
Yeah. Arrow! Great. Okay, once we start having that, well, let's just do step 1. You want to do like 4 or 5 clicks on step 1 before I give you step 2? That's better training on my part.
I got some.
Okay, just keeping it abundant. So, just get them engaged.
Hey.
Good. And just drop one on the ground, and then you're going to head away fast. And just keep eyes on him, and wait for that moment that he picks up as he starts coming running towards you. That's okay. You can give him a second to finish making sure he's got all of it.
Arrow!
There it is. And we're building enthusiasm in it. And turn and run. Should feel a little fun. Also a little bit more exercise for us, which is always good. Yeah.
Arrow!
Good. Great timing. So Jake did a really good job
Right here.
associating the word with the behavior before trying to get the word to produce the behavior. That's what this game's all about.
Arrow!
And right there, you could see that his name is starting to build pickup in his running, right? And maybe he really already has a very positive association with that, but either way, we're encouraging that behavior to continue. He's going to check me out. Yeah.
Arrow!
And he just picks up again. Also good exercise for an older dog, too. Cool. All right, let me show you the second part of this game. So now we're also going to start building in the last part of recall work, which is catching. So remember 2 weeks ago when we talked a little bit about what recall work is? It's several behaviors. The first one is turning towards you, ideally, away from, when you're practicing, away from something that they're interested in. That's one behavior, right? And you could break that down into more, but usually that's a behavior where we can start. Sorry. And then the second one is coming enthusiastically towards you. And then the last one is being caught, right? So that's the behavior we're after right here. All right, so I'm going to start getting him to come towards me, and then I'm going to start marking and reinforcing for the coming, and then also the sticking around. Arrow! I'm going to click, treat on the ground, pet, another treat on the ground maybe. Let's use a little bit shy of that. Pet, treat away. Arrow! Marking for the enthusiastic run. Oh, I'm sorry. I startled you a little bit. Startled him a little bit, so I'll just sit. Do that. He's a little bit uncomfortable with me touching him, so I'm just going to try and touch him softer. Arrow! Here you go, kid. And we might try click treat for just sitting. And instead of touching him on the back when he's not looking, I might just try like a little click treat for that. Just like, so I'm practicing the leaning over rather than just like the touch. So I don't want any part of this process to be scary for him, right? I want him to think that when I shout his name, he just comes running for fun. We can do the same game with the other word too, but it's also nice. It's nice to have a couple of recall cues so that if one doesn't work, maybe the other one catches. And you, instead of repeating the same one over and over again and disassociating the behavior you want with it, we have really strong associations with a few. All right, we'll try one more. Boop. Very good. So he's more comfortable with reaching in under, which is nice. You want to try a few?
Sure. So click, treat, he'll come over.
Yeah, click for as he's coming.
Okay.
Drop the treat on the ground. And then you can give him just like one really nice, like, and nothing, try not to be imposing, just like touch on the side or something. Don't touch his back like I did before because that startled him. I don't want to scare him. So you can even ask her sit and then do something like that, right? We don't have to like grab him or anything crazy. We just want him to start having really positive association with us moving towards him after he's recalled.
Okay.
And we can work on the actual catching part another time.
Barrow. Good boy.
Good.
Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah, good.
Sorry. There you are.
Again, like if a dog has had negative associations with these behaviors in the past, the likelihood that they've had negative associations, not just with coming, but also with being caught is super high. So we want to distance ourselves from those. So we aren't even trying to catch him up. We're just trying to get him comfortable with the things that look like catching up.
Arrow.
That's okay. Yeah. Oh, good.
Good job.
You finished
Good
it.
job.
And that's great because that was a full recall, right? The behavior wasn't happening. You were able to call him away from the spot. And it was a little hesitant, but that's totally fine.
Sit.
You also did that earlier when he came running away from me.
Arrow.
Another source of treat. I love how he just picks up. This is pretty good results for how shy he was of coming towards us on the first session.
Good job.
Good.
Job.
Yeah. I'd click treat that. That was great. Cool.
Good job.
Let's pause. With some good repetitions. As we do more sophisticated recall work, especially once we've gotten the full behavior, we're going to start seeing more training happening and less reinforcement. But right now, we're still kind of at a pretty high rate of reinforcement, still a lot less than, like, say, our first day, right? And the other thing that, I just want to bring up again, like he's so much more enthusiastic. Third training session. I don't know if you've done much work with him in the. So 3 training sessions, and we're having this dog versus the dog who was skittish and shy about the idea of coming up to us not that long ago, which is that's pretty good progress, especially considering this history, right? You can get awesome recall from a puppy who has no negative associations in one training session, but it's pretty impressive to have had the negative associations he did and recover so fast. It's because you're smarty happy pants, huh?
He does seem slightly happier to see me in general. Just like
Yeah.
we had an issue where he was barking the other day, and I wasn't. I just asked him call me to SIT, and
Great.
it worked really well. Like he was just very
Perfect.
calm about it.
And that's a great thing to do. If your dog is doing something you're not super comfortable with, our impulse as apes, but also because of our cultural history, is to vocalize or punish, right? And both of those things don't necessarily get the achieved result. And oftentimes they actually make the behavior we're looking for worse. But asking for an alternative behavior interrupts the whole chain, helps them understand what to do. We're so focused on what not to do that often we make problems for ourselves that don't need to be there. And a lot of times that's all you need to do to get the behavior to stop happening. And then you can give them lots of attention for the behavior you want to see. But his whole body posture is happier today around me.
Yeah.
He's definitely much more relaxed. He's much more enthusiastic. And he's got a lot of, you probably can't pick that up too well in the cams, but instead of like tense jaw, he's got a lot more relaxed jaw, which is a big read on dogs usually.
That's what I didn't know about.
Yeah,
Jaw.
jaw. So a lot of people want to read tail, and most of us have learned to misread tails. Tails can be an indicator of aggression. So if a tail is slightly wagging more to the left, that's a sign that's a really well documented sign dog is more likely to bite. And people often see a dog wagging its tail and think that dog's happy to see me. But all tail actually indicates is arousal. So it's a misunderstanding. And we've associated it with plenty of dogs who are happy aroused. But arousal can also be aggressive aroused, right?
Yeah.
It's really about how much of the neurochemicals are pumping through their brain that mean like heightened senses, right?
Yeah, when a dog is very alert at like an intruder, their tail is often up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it can also be wagging. And like people just misread that all the time. And honestly, like some of the most dangerous bites usually happen with a dog who doesn't bark or growl, who actually just approaches with a wag. And they're actually signaling to other dogs that they're as aggressive as anything. But as humans, we often misread it because we have these narratives.
I often go by ears. That's the thing I look for first. That they
Ears can be a big indicator, but it's really a whole body read, right? When we're actually trying to understand, like, if a dog's laying down thinking about taking a nap, that means they're pretty comfortable. A heightened arousal is hard because I've worked with a lot of dogs where despite my best efforts to make sure that they were separated because I know their bite history, a lot of times people whose dogs have bite history aren't the best about following instructions. And I end up in a room with a dog who's bitten people, and like you can see, like they could read as enthusiastic to see me, but I know like they've bitten. So and it's always like arousal is in there, right? And it's also really easy to slip from like really excited to, especially if you're nervous, to attacking.
I think anyone with siblings knows that feeling.
Yeah, this has been a great game of like friendly wrestling, and then pretty soon it's like, and I hate you, and we've been punching each other. Yeah, it's a similar sort of thing. All right, sorry, way off track here. What were you? Oh, so the next game I want to play is another recall game, and there's tons of them. Honestly, you could look on the internet and find like 30 different games. So we're just playing a few. But the more ways we diversify coming up and the different stages that are recall, the more likely that's what's going to stick in his head rather than negative experiences that he's had. So it's good to like do 3-5 minutes. You'll see we'll be doing like shorter repetitions because the whole behavior is coming through more. And then we're just diversifying the way that we play them. And then probably starting next session, we'll start taking it into different spaces and reteaching from the beginning. You'll see how it tends to generalize. Like I wouldn't say that his recall here is probably going to follow us, not even necessarily into the tack area, right? But we typically as apes think that like, oh, once an animal's learned something in this environment, they know it everywhere. That's really not true. Generalization is something that we do really well, but most other animals have a harder time with. So we'll do that too. But right now, I just want to keep making recalls super enthusiastic. So the game we're going to play is pretty much the same game as before, but we're going to save ourselves a little running by seeing if we can get them to run back and forth to us. Okay, so it's the same game. And this is also practicing that other step, which is turn away from something exciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're building up that, and we're hopefully building the enthusiastic recall. So it's going to look pretty much the same. We're going to start with short distances and then build up to longer distances. If he's not coming right away, we're going to try and use the cue of his name, right? So if he's not coming right away, just turn and run away from him, okay? Don't worry about anything else. You don't have to run fast, just move. So that he's got more ground to cover to get to you, okay?
I need some more reward.
Yeah. Arrow!
I don't have any.
Oh, you're out of treats.
Yeah.
Recall Mackenzie.
Sorry. Recall Mackenzie.
All right. And if he's not coming away from you, just make it easy for him, too, by pretending to ignore him. So go ahead and call him.
Hi, Arrow.
Good. Click treat. Beautiful. Now it's my turn to call him. You're pretending to ignore him. Arrow! And click treat. Now it's your turn to call him, and I'm pretending to ignore him.
Arrow! Arrow! Arrow!
Turn and run. Turn and run.
Good job.
Good. That was
Sorry, I
great,
didn't
but
quite
just
get-
remember, if you say it once, just turn and run.
Okay.
And I'll keep ignoring him.
Okay.
Arrow! Good dog. What a good guy.
Arrow! Arrow!
Turn and run. Good. Sorry.
Arrow! Good boy.
Mackenzie becoming the problem there. Arrow! And you can even click and throw the treat away. That's also helpful sometimes.
Arrow! Arrow! Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
He-
Don't stress it.
Good job.
Arrow! And also you can click right away when he turns too. So you could call him once and then just eyes on. And the moment that he turns away, click. That's
Okay.
also a good one.
Arrow! Yeah.
Good.
boy.
Nailed it. All right. He's getting a little tired, so I don't want to wear him out.
He's like, I'm done
It's
with
just
this
another
game.
fun recall game that you can play. Let's give him a little break. You can give him a couple treats, of course.
Hey, Arrow.
Good job, guy.
Good
So
job.
we got to practice a lot of different things. He was learning to run away from us with treats to get the treats from somebody else, which is pretty awesome, especially since like my hand is covered in treats. And like every time he was like a little distracted, it was like, is a treat going to come from here? Do I have to run all the way over there? But he also gets some exercise, and it starts to build up that really positive association with his name. And also notice, like, what step of the game did we erase from the whole thing that we just worked on? We didn't worry about catching him, right?
Yeah.
So what we did is we changed the game, but we also made the overall concept easier to
Yeah.
make it more reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice, like if you start playing a different game or you're starting on something else new, you just kind of subtract one of the other things that's newer, right? So we started in the touching. We just left off the touching for the first round of this game. Next time we play it, we can add the touching back in,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
the more we do that, like the more we make it fun, exciting, pretty easy to win at. It was still kind of hard for him to come away the first call,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The more likely he is to have those positive associations, but also to be like, oh, he'll get it. He'll start getting excited for what the next step is, right? And that gets him super engaged and thinking about the game as he plays it.
He was more sure that you were going to give him a treat than I was.
Yeah, well, he's only around me for this
Yeah.
these days, so yeah, and you know,
He
like,
was certain.
yeah, yeah. I think he's tired. Look at him.
It's a long day, Arrow.
Yeah, he's like, I worked all day.
Yeah.
I had to like make sure everybody was doing a good job, and then after that, I had you all get me out here running around. But it's also, you know, like good training for dogs, for animals in general. It usually is actually pretty fun,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it gets you engaged with them in a really positive way. And especially, I'm always surprised when I hear that people try and train recall with like a shot caller, because look at how far recall has come in 3 sessions.
Yeah.
Right? Probably like roughly a half hour, but a lot of me talking at people. Like if we're talking about minutes, we haven't put a full hour into this work yet, you know?
Yeah.
And like that's a
He's a huge. Yeah.
yeah. And like we never had to say no, we never had to yell at him, we never had to do anything. And he's on his way to being a very catchable dog. Now, is he catchable in every circumstance? No. If we had started this way as a puppy, he'd be a lot closer, right? So yeah, it's surprising like how fast the turnaround often is. He's going to take a nap and think about it. When we're doing this work, he brings up a very good point, which is that you don't want to work for 15, 20 minutes straight, right? This what he's doing right now, like sleeping on it, that's actually a very important part of training, which is, and like a lot of people get frustrated with their animals because they'll work them, and it seems like it's going really well, and then it seems like they forget everything. And that's a sign that you just aren't giving them the opportunity. Yes, good way to check it out, guy, to do that neurological processing, and so their brain starts to shut down and they can't engage. I feel this way often in like a lecture, right? So the brain starts to shut down. It's actually working on what it needs to remember, right? But it looks like the animal's no longer paying attention or whatever, but it's actually just neurological processes at work. Cool. Well, I don't want to overdo it with Arrow today, and I know you got to get somewhere, Jake, and he's kind of tired, so that would be a really good recall session.
Good job.
Yeah, great job. Great job on your part.
No, thank you.
Great job on your part, Arrow. Next time, let's see if we can start reteaching the games that we really started with in just one new spot. Now, we don't have to do that everywhere, but if we reteach from the beginning in a few different places, maybe we'll start with recall games here, try and improve our catching, because then that's basically it. All we have to do from there is reteach and work on running away from distractions. And that's everything. Cool. So we'll give that a shot next time. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I'll be back with the Divas here shortly.
Yeah.
And Jake's off to work, unfortunately.
Yeah. not actually for this evening, but
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
great.
Good to see ya.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in a little bit.